I everybody joining in, so we can get started now with our opening prayers. A very warm welcome to all of you. Um, this week, at least for the next few sessions, I picked up a topic that has sparked a lot of interest in a lot of people. I keep on reading questions and some questions that keep up. So we are going to take up this topic of science of charity. Okay, so today will be the part one of that series. We'll probably cover it in 2 or 3 parts, maybe one more if needed. So we will talk about this topic, and any question related to that, keep it ready because this is a very important topic and not really well understood. So we will talk about it in great detail. As always, we will take inspiration from our scriptures, including Bhagavad Gita, because it's a Bhagavad Gita session, and also bring in some other scriptural references around it as well. So let's get started. A very warm welcome to all of you. We'll do our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening to all of you. So let's get started. Today's topic that we're going to talk about. Like I said, it's going to be on the science of charity. To that end, I have picked up a shloka that we will do. We do go back and forth. So today I picked up a verse from chapter 18, verse 5. And we'll focus on the charity aspect of it. I'll recite it and then you're welcome to follow along. Yagya dana tapah karma na tyajyam karyameva tat yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishina. Okay.
Yeah, okay, there are hands. I'll take Rupaji first. Radhe Radhe Rupaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Yajna dana tapa karma natyajam karayam evatat yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam.
Nice, thank you, Rupaji.
Okay, I'll go. Okay, Tarunji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yajnana tapa karma natyajya karyamev tat yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam.
Very nice. Thank you, Taranji. Radhe Radhe. Last but not the least, today we don't have any hands, so all right, go ahead, Sandhya.
Yeah. Yagya dana tapah karma natyajam karyameva tat yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam.
Very nice. All right, I see a couple of more hands. Diva, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Diva, please go ahead.
Where Diva?
Yajnana tapa karma natyajan karyam yajnana tapa karma natyajan karyameva tad yajnanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam.
Very nice, Diva. I think you become more regular than Shyamji these days. Where is he these days? I hope he's doing all right.
I don't know. I just texted him. I couldn't see him, so I.
It's about time he becomes regular as well. I've not been seeing him of late. Okay, very nice, Diva. Thank you. Yes, Falguni ji. Please go ahead.
Yes,
Hear me?
Radhe Radhe ji.
Radhe Radhe, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Yagyadana tapa karma natachyam karma eva tat yagno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam.
Very
Radhe
nice.
Radhe.
Lakshmi ji has raised her hand as well. So please go ahead, Lakshmi ji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Lakshmi ji. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Yajna dhana tapa karma natyajyam karyam eva tat yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. So let's get started. Again, just for the benefit of everybody, this week we will be talking about the science of charity. So we are continuing with our journey on chapter 4, but like we often do, we will pick topics that are helpful to know about, and that we can think about incorporating, imbibing in our day-to-day lives, so that we don't have to wait for chapter 18, right? All the key concepts that are worth exploring and knowing about in good detail, we keep going to those topics. So we do back and forth, so that by the time you have spent a couple of months on these sessions, even though you might have joined late, you have the similar foundational understanding around a lot of concepts. Okay, so this week we have picked up a topic of science of charity because it has sparked a lot of interest, and I see a lot of questions coming around it. So I thought let's formally do that for this week. We'll probably have 2 to 3 sessions on this, and then keep your questions ready. All the understanding that you have around this topic, it's important that we have a common understanding, and then, like always, we will take reference and inspiration from scriptures to tackle all the questions and the theory around this concept as well. In this particular shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, Shwetaji, you wanted to recite that?
Yes, Radhe Radhe Shweta ji. Please.
Question, but you go ahead. I will ask later.
Oh, you have a question.
Yes.
No worry.
I want to know what do you mean? I mean, by wise in this, wise means learned, Gyani, or wise as in wise, practically wise? Thank you, Radha.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll get into that. It's a good question. So Lord Krishna's benchmark for wise is probably much higher, I guess. Right. So they are saying people even who are on this path and elevated, these are the 3 activities that must never be abandoned. You have to continue doing it until, of course, you have gone past Maya. So these are the 3 activities which are a must have for all the people on this path. So wise is a very relative term. Who is wise in this, right? Now, if Lord Krishna is referring to somebody as wise, they are saying that people who are already on this path, who have made God realization or spiritual quest as their priority, who are Gyanis, basically, who are, committed on this path, they should also continue to perform these 3 activities regardless. They should not think, I've reached a stage now, I can abandon these. That's essentially the message here. So let's get started. We'll get into more details on this topic. It's going to be a pretty engaging, fascinating topic, I'm sure. And a lot of interesting things will come up during the discussion. I'm pretty sure about that. So let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is talking about actions based upon sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. They must certainly be performed. Indeed, acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are purifying even for those who are wise. Okay. It's an ongoing thing. Until we reach perfection, there's always a scope. And God is saying when you perform sacrifice, charity, and penance, they are purifying. And this whole journey of spirituality, as we have spoken about multiple times, is about purification, self-purification. Once we purify ourselves Sorry about that. I'm just trying to settle down. Yeah. Once we purify ourselves, then we have prepared the vessel to receive God's grace. And with God's grace, our journey of God realization is complete. This whole process is to purify, and charity that we are going to focus on today, we will look at it, how it can be an accelerator in our purification process. See, there are so many things we need to work on ourselves, right? It could be anger, it could be forgiveness, it could be pride, envy, letting go, so many things. And then charity is one of the things which actually accelerates that purification process. Okay. And that is why we are going to spend some good amount of time on this one. Okay, what charity means, why it is important, what do our scriptures talk about it, and anything and everything that you can think under the sun on this topic is what we're going to discuss. Okay. So let's get started. So Lord Krishna is saying, actions based on these three things, sacrifice, charity, and penance, should never be abandoned. He's very clearly saying, never give up on these three things. Don't shy away from sacrifice, don't shy away from charity, and do not shy away from penance. Okay. So let's get started on this topic. Now, Shri Krishna, pronounces his verdict that we should never renounce actions which elevate us and are beneficial for humankind. Okay. So they are beneficial for humankind at a large, and the biggest gainer is us. Okay. These are the actions that he's calling out. Such actions, if performed in the proper consciousness is a key word here, do not bind us. Instead, they help us grow spiritually. Now, the very reason we are here is because we want to grow spiritually. And God is giving us tools and accelerators, right? In corporates, we talk about tools and accelerators. How can we automate something? How can we accelerate something? And God is doing the same. He's not only giving us the tools, but accelerators. And if you ask me personally, humility, forgiveness, charity, some of these are things are super accelerators in your path, because these are the most difficult things for us to do. Okay, if we can let go of something, forgive somebody, we can practice humility, make it a way of life, and do charity, increase our, basically that ability to let go of that with proper understanding. It can be a huge accelerator in this journey. So let's get started with this. Okay, so these are the three things we are going to focus on charity today. Okay, let's start with an example. There is a Middle East, there is something called a Dead Sea. It's a Dead Sea. It's called a Dead Sea. We'll see why it is called a Dead Sea. Now, it definitely has a lot of inflow of fresh water. Jordan River, it flows into it. It's a fresh water. Then you have Mujib River, that also flows into it. Then you have Wadi Daraje. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That also flows into it. And then Wadi Hazar. There are so many fresh water rivers that flow into this particular sea. However, what's going on here is there's no outflow. There's no outlet. It just keeps on accumulating water from all the rivers. And because of that, what happens is this sea is 10 times more saline than the ocean. And other than some fungi and bacteria who can survive that, the flora and fauna, which is an inherent part of any aquatic life or in any ocean, it's not able to support that. None of the flora and fauna can survive in it. And no wonder it is called a sea of death. Sea of death. So if you look at it, its focus is only on accumulating. There's no outlet. And we see what happened, the consequence, what happens. And nature is no different. Universe is designed in such a way that unless you have an outlet for something, it will not sustain. It will not sustain, and it will become something like a sea of death, like we see here. Let's go further into this topic. There's a beautiful verse. I think I remember in my Hindi when I was studying in my CBSE board. Pibanti nadya swameva nabhya swayam na khadanti falani vriksha nadanti sasyam khalu vari vaha paropakara satam vibhutaha. Right? What this verse says is, it's a beautiful verse. Just as the rivers do not drink their own water, but flow for others' benefit, just as fruit-bearing trees do not eat their own fruit, but bear it for others, and just as clouds do not drink their own rain, but shower it down for others, so saintly devotees live simply for others. Right? It's a beautiful verse. You remember, you might have read it in Hindi. Now you can map it back to the concept that we are going to discuss. See, everything goes back to Bhagavad Gita. Anything beautiful, anything captivating, anything beneficial, there is no way you cannot map it back to Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so charity is essentially what nature is giving us enough examples around how everything is designed to serve others. Okay, and in that process, it's able to maintain the balance and also able to get what it needs. That is how it goes. Let's move on. Now, if we have to now look at the trees. Trees, they give us fruits, air, oxygen that we breathe in. If trees were not there, we will not get it. They are also serving. We look at oceans and the rivers around. The very molecule or the atom that you breathe in, not even without knowing that you are breathing, is coming from, 7 continents away. And that's becoming part of your body. So everything in this universe, trees, oceans, they are actually contributing to this ecosystem and actually helping us sustain our existence as well. Okay. And for that matter, something as trivial that you would think as earthworms, okay, they don't make up for a pretty sight for sure. They are also serving. They increase the fertility of the soil. And even when they die, they end up serving it, right? So that is what how we get our crops and fertile soil. Earthworms are an essential ingredient to it. In US, the quality of soil is low. Why? Because they put in so much of pesticides that even earthworms don't survive. And because of that, the fertility of the soil has gone down. And because of that, the nutrient quotient of the crop or the fruit and the things that come out has also gone down. You taste an apple in India here or, somewhere, and you can feel the taste difference there. So now, similarly, if we wish to thrive, we too must create an outlet for sharing our blessings with others. That's a key thing. Outlet is called generosity. And altruistic acts and giving are the best way to lead a flourishing life. So if we want to flourish, that has to be an integral part of our living or the way of life. You have a question, Sandhya?
There's a question in the chat regarding forgiveness that you mentioned earlier on. So question is, why should I forgive someone who isn't sorry for their behavior, especially if that person is a family member who I have to face every day?
Don't forgive. Who's suffering? Don't forgive. That plan B is always there. See if it works for you. If it works for you, go for it. So forgiveness is like forgiving yourself. It's like drinking the poison and hoping that the other person dies, right? So you don't have a choice. In fact, it's an opportunity where if you crack forgiveness, it's an asset you have built for lifetimes. See, there was a snake. It was going in the dark. And what happened? There was a razor sharp knife, static knife kind of a thing on the way, which came in the way. And because of it, it hit that and it cut that snake. It gave a scar to the snake, small scar to the snake. Now, snake is unforgiving. He said, I'm not going to forgive this thing that came in my way and hurt me. And in the dark, it started fighting with that. And you know what the consequence would have been, right? It started fighting that razor sharp thing. And by the time it just bled itself to death. Right? Similarly, that darkness is the ignorance where we don't understand the higher principles of this universe. You don't forgive, you have bitterness. You'll be like that snake. And what you are fighting is that particular sharp thing that is going to bleed you more than anybody else. So forgiveness is something that you do for yourself, not for others. And it is a huge spiritual asset to build. The sooner we build, the better off we are. If we don't build, we are digging ourselves a pit that we have to climb over finally if we want to progress spiritually. But if we are happy, enjoying our dopamine kick from venting out, having bitterness, having resentment, fighting it out, God says, be my guest. And if God were to harbor the same sentiment like we do for people around, okay, he did this to me, he did that to me, what our state would be? What did we do for God? We don't do anything for him. We curse him as well at times, right? So think if God were to harbor that sentiment for us. We are not God, but we have to become God-like. That is what God realization is, right? So choice is always with us. And if you think lack of forgiveness works for you, it actually helps you, go for it. Who's stopping you from doing that? That plan is always there. So it's a very practical thing to think about. Think deeply about it and we'll get an answer about it from it as well. Okay. Forgiveness is liberating, and people who are strong can forgive. Weak people cannot forgive. So it is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. Weak people can never forgive. Right? People who are emotionally weak can never forgive. It takes a lot of strength to forgive somebody, right? And a very weak, fragile mind to vent it out. So choice is always with us. All right. Hopefully it answered a part of your question. Now let's move on. Now, universal law of nature is to always return manifold times what you give in service. See, it is counterintuitive, but believe it or not, this is how it works. What you give, universe gives you manifolds back. This is how it is designed. We always think there is scarcity of things in the world. Actually, it's just the other way around. God says, you open up your arms and just see how much more arms I can open up for you. So let's take reference from Bhagavatam. Okay, I'm not saying that just out of that. Bhagavatam 11:11:41. What does it say? Whatever is very dear to you, Lord Krishna is saying, whatever you hold as immensely valuable, offer it in service to me. I shall multiply it infinite times over and give it back to you. Okay, this is how it works. It is paying it forward. Charity is also called paying it forward. Paying it forward means you're only future proofing yourself. It's not going anywhere. God doesn't need anything from us, right? God has a direct connect with Kuber. He's the husband of Lakshmi. He doesn't need anything from us. He's saying, you work on yourself and I'll give you multiple times in return. And paying it forward, there's a movie in English, I think in Hollywood movie in 2000 it came. It very beautifully summarizes this concept as well. Essentially, we are paying forward for ourselves. We are building our own insurance policy. Part of it is paid in this life itself. Nobody has become poor, right? I mean, I'm going to show you another one from Kabir Das ji, just by doing charity. Okay, nobody. Have you heard about somebody became poor by doing charity? Nobody has so far. Okay. So God's rule is he'll give it back to you and he'll multiply and give it back to you. Secondly, if you are a person who thinks long term, right? A lot of people are short term and long term people. If you think long term, extend it a little further, extend it across life. Then God will make sure at least you fall on the right side of Maslow hierarchy, where you don't have to worry about food, clothing, and shelter and born daridra. You see so many people who are born poor, they might be Ambanis of some other era. If you simply hold it for yourself, not that I'm telling they are holding, but I'm just giving you an example. If you become like that, last thing I need is somebody suing me, right, from that. So if you are born rich and you don't give and hold everything for yourself, you become Dead Sea. And then you are not paying it forward. Then consequence of that is God says, okay, you experience what it means to be poor. Okay, so that can happen as well. So it's like paying it forward. What Kabir Das ji says, it's a beautiful. Daan diye dhan na ghate, nadi ne ghate neer. Apni aankhon dekh lo yo kya kahe Kabir. What he says is in Hindi, I'll translate it. It says, as they flow towards the ocean, rivers keep giving from their waters, yet they do not dwindle. Philanthropists generously share their wealth, but do not become impoverished from it. Try it out for yourself and see the results. I am not saying it without a basis. Very powerful saying from Kabir Das ji as well. See, this is interesting, right? Different saints, they reiterate the same principle. So there are two reasons. Either they have realized this knowledge, which is universal, or they are high on dope. The former is more likely, latter is not, right? All the saints saying the same thing. Okay, let's move on. I'll tell you a story of 17 horses. Okay, it's a beautiful story. Okay, you'll have to do a little bit of calculation. Okay, mathematical hats on. So there were 17 horses. Okay, they belong to, see, you can count it, it's 17 only, but or you can trust me that they are 17. Both options are there. So there was a guy, he owned these and he had 3 sons. Now in his will, he wrote that give half of these horses to my first son. And then he said 1/3 to my second son and 1/9 to my third son. Okay, this is how he wrote his will, 17 horses. Now, how are they going to resolve this problem? He said, what kind of a practical joke our father played with us? Can anybody solve this problem? I mean, I gave this problem to somebody, they actually tried to solve it, okay? Through some denominator, numerator kind of a thing. Now, if you have heard it, you're not allowed to raise your hand, but does anybody have a solution for this? Heartbreaker, G, you had some solution for it? I think you raised your hand. Sorry, you need to be unmuted.
So you want the answer, how much?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first one get 8.5, matlab approx 8.
Now you're
Second-
approximating, but the fights can happen. They will say, why are you not rounding up and why are you rounding down?
So I'm rounding down because it's a horse, no? So
Okay,
if
you
it is
say
about
first one get 8, what will the second get?
second will get around 8.
Around 8. Okay, second will also get 8 and the third one will get 1. They say you have, you know,
One.
half of 17 is 1/9. What is that? Third one is 1/9.
1 point something, 1.97
Alright.
63,
Yeah,
9,
it's-
8
it can
something
become a
9.6. So
It-
third son will get approx 2.
Yeah, it can open it up for basically a bit of a contentious issue. It can become, especially
Two.
if they are not introduced to fractions and they are not letting go of stuff, right? So now the other option here is there's a gentleman. Okay, he's a very charitable guy. He says, I have a horse. Okay, let me make it even for you. You take this horse. So when he gives this horse, what happens now? It becomes 18. He says, take my horse and solve your problem. So when it becomes 18, the first guy gets 9. Simple. The second guy gets 6. Simple. The third guy gets 2. Problem solved. 9 plus 6 plus 2 is 17. What happens with the surplus horse? The surplus horse, the guy can take it back. Okay, so this is what, when you give something, it will come back to you. In this case, Bhagavatam is saying, Lord Krishna is saying, you'll not get one horse. I'll multiply it infinite times and give it back to you. Okay, so you don't become any poor. Like this guy did not become any poor. He solved the problem. You know, he was being generous, he was being charitable, and at the same time, he got back. It's not like he ended up losing something. And this is how the principle of charity works. Okay. And I hope that point made sense. Swamiji had told this beautiful story. So I thought, okay, let's bring it to this session just to tell you, by giving, nobody loses anything. You only gain. You'll only not only maintain it, but multiply it in long run. Okay. This is how it goes. Now, don't say that we become greedy. I want to multiply my money. So Krishna has become my insurance policy. I mean, you can try it. You will still get it. It's not like Krishna is not going to give you, but have faith. You'll not become poor on that. Okay. Ask me, it works. And not only that part, it changes something in you. And that change, you will welcome it only when you experience it. Okay, that letting go of that thing, something, that change that comes in you is very refreshing, very liberating. It's like breaking another shackle in your mind, which was holding you back. Okay, so this is how it goes. Now moving on. Yes, Heartbreaker ji, I think your name is Vikas, I believe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Vikas, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So how you give the second son 6 horses, and so it is okay to give the last one 2 and the above one is 9, but how it became 6?
18 divided by 3 is 6, right?
No, so sir, initially I have told you there is a 17 horses now.
So he made it 18, right? When he made it 18, now you start dividing it, it is divisible by all 3.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
He
And sir,
solved
one
the
more
problem.
doubt.
This guy
One more
solved the
doubt.
problem for them and didn't end up losing anything. Yes, please go ahead.
So you talk about penance, self-hate. So is it okay to give a self-hate over a time? So
Self-hate, you said?
सिर्फ मतलब कुछ गलती की है तो उसको करेक्ट करने के लिए मतलब कि गुस्सा उतना क्यों कर रहे हैं ऐसे?
Okay, yeah, we are not getting into penance today, but let me touch upon it briefly. Self-hate is not the right way to look at it. Penance basically means understanding you went wrong, learn from it and move on. But if you are in a guilt trap, that is not what is meant to be. You cannot be in a guilt trap. People actually become guilty. They contemplate upon it so much that they become negative. And then when they become negative, they take it to such an extreme, they don't even, some people even try to take their own lives. That is not the way forward. What spirituality tells us is that learn from it and move forward. Tap into the higher energy. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Okay. If we were to count the number of sins that we have performed, we can never move forward. Even if we have performed one sin in one life, we have already performed infinite sins, all of us. So the real understanding is with knowledge, we learn our lessons, make a resolve and move forward, right? And take ourselves to the next level as opposed to getting hung up in one thing and feeling guilty and spoil our rest of our life. It is not very pleasing to God. That is not what Bhagavad Gita is teaching. Penance means understand that part. Okay, we'll talk more detail in that topic, but you are not supposed to energize your lower energy. Okay, where you are falling into a guilt trap always. You learn and you move on, because God is called Patit Pavan. When you truly consider yourself as a fallen, God will actually come and rescue you from that situation. It's his job function. So this is the right way to look at it, as opposed to getting stuck at one spot. Okay? And that is pleasing to God. It is not about falling down 7 times, but having a resolve to get up an 8th time. That is more important. And that is how we need to look at life. Always remember, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Okay. And there are a lot of stories in our scriptures talking about people who have had a very, very, what you call that, colored past and still went on to attain sainthood. So many stories are there. Okay. Let's move on. Continuing on our topic of charity. Now, we worship Lakshmi, right? It is our favorite goddess. Right? We do that during Diwali. Sukh Sampatti Ghar Aave and Jai Lakshmi Mata. And, you don't have to go from home, because if Lakshmi comes and you're not at home, you'll not get the money. So Lakshmi is our favorite. Everybody's favorite, especially in Kali Yuga. And you know who Lakshmi is? Lakshmi is an internal consort of Narayan. Okay. She will go where Narayan's name is taken. She will not leave her husband and come just like that. Okay. You will get it based on your prarabdha. Narayan gives us the prarabdha. So basically it says 6 things God has controls for you. Jan Mrityu, Labh Hani, Yash Apyash. Labh Hani is already preordained for you. If you have done some good karma, you have paid it forward in your past, you may hit a jackpot without doing anything. And people who haven't, they might work, they might be the most smartest people, most hardworking people. Still, they are not able to, make as some dumb person might meet because of their prarabdha. So these 6 things are kind of, God controls that based on your past karmas. Now, Lakshmi, when we talk about it, is an eternal consort of Narayan. Let's understand that part. And we as humans have 2 choices. Either to consume Lakshmi like Ravan did, for its own enjoyment, aggrandizement, or bhog, so to say, or like King Janak did. What was the attitude King Janak had? In this case, bhog, self-enjoyment. And in the other case, it was an attitude of a trustee for something that belongs to someone else. Right? It belonged to Lord Ram, and as a father, you have an attitude of trustee. When you have a daughter, you have an attitude of trustee, not, it belongs to me. And when Ravan, that attitude was more for his own enjoyment. And these two options are always available to us when it comes to Lakshmi as well. Okay. And if we take it a little further, it means our abilities and wealth, all that we have are gifts that God has bestowed upon us. Right? We don't bring anything to this world. We make everything out of this world, and then God's grace comes into picture here there as well. He bestows certain gifts, talents to us. Using those, we stake our claim for the Lakshmi in our life. And then when we use them in the service of others, God blesses us with more talents and opportunities to serve. And that is the whole idea about having a charitable mindset with regards to not just our money, but our talents and whatever skills that we bring in to make it a priority to serve others as well, and not just keep it for yourself. Okay. So this was today a tilling the ground on charity. We will go much deeper into the types of charity, why it is not only important, but an eternal responsibility that humans have. And then take more reference from scriptures to talk about different kinds of charities. What are the different variables that come into charity, the mindset, the consciousness, the recipient, the categories, the types, and the highest level of charity. We will talk all about that in our next two sessions. Any questions so far on what we have discussed? I know we discussed a lot today, and it's an interesting topic for sure. So anything that comes to your mind at this point?
There is a question in the chat.
Mhm.
I think during the conversation it came up. So that shall not be the motivation behind charity, that by giving more, I'll get more.
Yeah, that's true. It's not the motivation. It is just a principle, universal principle I'm talking about. What stops us from giving is that I will become bereft of it. I will lose out in the game. I will become impoverished. Just to quell that doubt, this universal principle was introduced. Not that you now start having a greed that I've hit a formula better than the stock market. Give it to Krishna, I'll multiply, give it back to me, right? It's a great formula to have. Now, when does he give it? It's up to him. He will not make you impoverished for sure, but it's like paying it forward, where at least your basic stuff is taken care of in every life. And then you can have a, put your mind to devotion. Maslow hierarchy talk about like people who have to struggle for food, clothing, and shelter. Spirituality is the last thing that will come to their mind. What if you are born poor? Right? So in that sense, we have to keep that at the back of our mind. It is imperative on us to at least give 10% of what we earn. We will talk about all those rules in next sessions. But today it was all about having that mindset that our talents, as our money, and so many things that we can actually offer it in the service of God and to help others, and not just have that mindset of hoarding. Hoarding means keeping it for ourselves, everything. Some people keep the knowledge for themselves, right? It happens in colleges. Some people keep the money for themselves. Some people keep the things for themselves. So that hoarding mindset is something that God is telling us, don't do that. You share it, it will multiply for you as well.
Wonderful. I'll take the hands that are being raised. So,
Sure.
Prabhat Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Prabhat.
So I just want to know, like, either the charity that we do is something which we, for which we are responsible, right? So uh, we need to make sure that is it going in the right direction or not. So this is something that which we need to evaluate, or it's like whatever comes on our way, we can do the charity. So I just want to.
We'll get into the recipient, the intention, the timing, all that stuff we will talk about in the coming session. So that's a teaser for you. You might already know the answer for that, but we will discuss all this stuff in the upcoming sessions. It's a very good question, right? What if you offer food to somebody, it gives him strength, and because of that strength, he was feeling weak and he wanted to hurt somebody or kill somebody, but he was feeling very weak, and you gave him food and he got the strength and killed somebody. What will happen? Your intention was pure, right? So we'll talk about all those scenarios. Is it a good charity, basically? Or what kind of result will you get? Or you give money to somebody and they put it to, drugs, or they put it to some use which you are not aware of. You did it in all the with all sincerity and purity of heart, that I'm helping some relative, or I'm helping a friend, or I'm helping a beggar. But if they end up misusing it, what happens? What kind of result you get? What do our scriptures talk about it? And then what do we do to safeguard it? Can we really safeguard it? I mean, how will you know somebody's mind? We are not antaryamis like God is. How would you know whether what I'm doing is right or not, right? So all these questions we'll tackle in the coming sessions. There's only so much you can do, right? It's a good question. We'll talk about it in coming sessions. Maybe tomorrow's session only.
Radhe Radhe Urvi.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, I got reminded of a doha which I learned when I was in 7th or 8th class, because Nitin sir talked about sharing knowledge as well, right? So I wanted to share that. सरस्वती के भंडार की बड़ी अपूरब बात, ज्यों खर्चे त्यों त्यों बढ़े, बिन खर्चे घटी जात. राधे राधे.
Very true. So beautiful. In fact, if you are a student, you would realize that if you want to learn something, start sharing, teaching it to others. That's more quicker you understand, right? And some people have that mindset of holding some formula or something that they have cracked the code, but when you share it, you'll be forced to think even more, and that is how it works. That's how beautiful universal laws, that is how they are designed. You share and it will multiply. Very nice. Thank you, Urvi, for sharing that.
Yeah, very beautiful, Urvi.
Yes, Vikas, you had another question.
Vikas, Radhe Radhe.
Sir, so in the next slide, where there is a slide of King Ravan and King Janak. Next.
Yes.
So sir, we as a modern student now, so we don't know the what is the quality of Ravan and what is the quality of King Janak. So if you give the brief introduction, how is a life aspects and what is the quality, then we will easily get into the flow of
Sure. Yeah, so I presumed everybody knows about Ravan and King Janak do not need an introduction, right? But apparently they do for some. So Ravan was a demon who came in Treta Yuga, okay, to give a run for money to Lord Ram, okay? That's at least what he thought. And then what he did was he abducted his wife, Mother Sita, under the garb of a monk. He abducted his wife and he wanted Sita to marry him. So he abducted her and then kept on forcing her and imprisoned her basically in a Shokvatika and kept on forcing her to marry him. So basically he wanted Lakshmi, which is Mother Sita, as her own consort. So for his own bhog, that is what his mindset was. King Janak was the father of Sita. He groomed Sita. He found him basically. Sita was not born. He found him in a field and he groomed her and then finally handed her over to Lord Ram. So as a father, when father raises his daughter or grooms his daughter, it is, in India they say paraya dhan, right? That is a word that they use, especially if they plan to marry her down the line. So it's always the mindset that they have is that of a trustee. That doesn't belong to me. I have to hand it over to somebody else, or finally they have to leave. Even it happens with boys also, by the way. So they're also paraya dhan in a way, right? So they don't basically have that mindset of having a trustee. So what this concept is that when it comes to Lakshmi, we should not look upon it as a means for self-enjoyment. We should look at it as a trustee, that it truly belongs to God and it should be put to good use. And it should actually truly go where it truly belongs. So that mindset makes the whole difference. Bhog leads to rog, and when you have the other mindset, it is called yoga.
And
yeah.
So and sir, you are using sometime now strong English vocabulary. So we are not we are not
you tell me the words that you are not understanding and I will try to simplify it, okay?
No sir, तो आप थोड़ा हिंदी थोड़ा इंग्लिश मिक्स करके अपने अकॉर्डिंग आप बोल सकते हो.
आपके साथ में आपके साथ मैं अलग से हिंदी में वार्तालाप कर सकता हूँ, बट
नहीं नहीं सर, उसकी जरूरत नहीं, आई ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंडिंग
ये
वेरी गुड इंग्लिश।
अंग्रेजी का सत्र है, तो मुझे अंग्रेजी का उपयोग करने के लिए मैं बाध्य हूँ।
नहीं सर,
लेकिन
वैसा दिक्कत नहीं है, मुझे आती है समझ में, मगर कोई कोई टर्म है ना, जैसे आप यहाँ पे हो गया, कुछ कुछ लेते हैं हम, बिस्टूड, वो हो गया, तो वो नहीं समझ में आता मेरे को, गूगल
अब
करना
मैं
पड़ता है।
कुछ हद तक अमेरिकन हो गया हूँ, तो मेरे इट्स एन ऑक्यूपेशनल हैजर्ड ऑफ बीइंग अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ एन अमेरिकन दैट आई यूज $5 words where I could use a 5-cent word. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. Okay.
सॉरी
So
सर।
you have to deal with me. कुछ ऐसे शब्दों का अगर उपयोग हो जाता है तो आप मुझे बता दीजिए, मैं उनका समाधान आपके लिए बहुत सरलता से कर सकता हूँ।
जी
ओके,
सर, राधे राधे।
राधे राधे। थैंक यू। Let's take a few more hands. Given
There
a
are
choice,
couple.
I like to speak Hindi. Okay, I hardly get to speak Hindi to with people, but I can do that occasionally. But it is meant to be an English session, so that's why I use English words primarily. But I use Hindi occasionally as well.
Wonderful. And in fact, there's a message in the chat regarding this that we have global audience. We have audience from everywhere, and many of them do not even understand Hindi, and hence English being the common language is being used
And you
here.
can utilize it as an opportunity to pick up more bigger words, right? It's a global audience. That's a very true thing. And tomorrow somebody might say, start using a bit of Spanish also, right? It will make my job a little, you can understand, right? Yeah. Yes,
Um,
Monica ji.
yeah, and actually there are a couple of questions in the chat. So after Monica ji, I'll read them. Yes, Monica ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, everybody. So Nitin, since this session is on charity, I just wanted to share one of my experiences during my college days. So those days I had, I mean, we understand the INR concept, right? 10 rupees, 5 rupees and stuff. So those days my bus fare used to be 5 rupees 50 paise, and then I had like 20 rupees that day. And then that incident changed my life because one of the child came to me begging and asking for some money. I told him that I'll give you some food because you think that probably what if he's not using it for the proper cause. Then he's like, no, I want money because I have my mother and I'll feed them also. So I pretended that I don't have anything. I just did this. I don't have. In fact, even I'm hungry. He actually ran to his mother, got whatever he had, and gave it to me for me. And that phase I still cannot forget, right? That made me actually take out all money I had, 20 rupees, and give it to him because of his bhav. And then I walked, to my home. But then that incident changed me forever. And then wherever I had the opportunity of donating, I did that. And honestly, till date, if you're a conscious being and if you notice these things, if you donate, it just comes back to you multifold, and it's
Comes.
still happening. It's
It
still
comes.
happening.
It comes.
Yes.
And whoever has been doing this, you would realize that it comes back in some form or manner, and comes back much more. I have seen that. Okay, nobody becomes poor by doing charity for sure. There was a guy who was in a Starbucks, and he said, okay, how much is the small latte for and how much is the big latte for? So he said big latte for 4.5, small is for 3.5. He said, okay, then I can only afford a small one, right? And then he drinks that $3.5 latte, and then finally gives him a $4.5. He said, you could have had a big one. He said one was for the tip. So that is the mindset he has. Okay, he was able to take that pinch, but to tip that. So that's just a mindset thing. They say charity is not done from the top of your wallet, but from the bottom of your heart. And we'll talk about this principle tomorrow in more detail, what it truly means, right? And of course, it's an accelerator we are talking about on the path of spirituality, right? So it can accelerate your spiritual journey like anything. Thank you for
And the
sharing that.
feeling that it Yes, and the feeling that it gives back to you is priceless. That feeling, no money can buy it.
See, it's just like, think about it. Next time you do charity, first of all, people who get an opportunity, ideally they should have tears in their eyes, because not everybody gets that opportunity, right? Secondly, whatever you're giving, you think of it as your account, future account, where you're depositing, and God's elbow is running where you are paying yourself forward. He doesn't need anything, but your consciousness has to be, I'm putting it at your feet, right, for your service. So yeah, everything to gain from that. Yes, Preeti ji, you wanted to say something. Sorry, we couldn't take your. Go ahead, please. We have unmuted
Radhe
you.
Radhe, yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. I wanted to share something which I just read yesterday, but where I read that I'm not able to recall. She's a Hollywood actress, and I was reading about her life. So she came from a very humble background, and once the family was her family, like she, her siblings, and her parents were standing in a line to buy tickets for a circus. And before them was another family, the parents, and 12 children. And the children were very well behaved. They were neatly dressed. They were neatly dressed, but not costly dresses, right? They were neat and clean, groomed, nice. They were standing in twos, I mean, holding one another's hands, 6 pairs. And at the top of the line were the parents. And the father, the 12 children father, he asked the ticket vendor, that lady, how much is the cost for 14? And she said something. They did not have that much money. And then he said, okay, then give me only 6 tickets. That would mean many of them would go back home, right, without watching the circus. And all these 12 children who stand there, they talk about how good the time would be at the circus, how they would enjoy, how they had not seen it before, and what a good time they're going to have together as a family, and how much their parents work hard to get them to the circus. But at the end, some of them would have to go back because the father has money only for a few tickets. Then this actress, who was very young at that time, with her sibling and both parents, the actress's father is a person of giving mindset. So he drops a $20 bill, and then he tells the father, who's at the top of the line, these 12 children, so you drop this, please take it, you drop this. And the father, he realizes that he did not have it, but then, his children are very important for him. We know, we all of us are parents, and we know how we work towards the happiness of our kids. So he buys the tickets, all the 14 tickets, and the entire family goes inside to watch the circus. Whereas the actress, who comes from a humble background, there that her family, I mean, her sibling and her parents have to get back, because that's the only $20 they had to buy the tickets. But then she says, this is when my dad taught me the value of giving. So this was one. And the other one, that I long back, I think this must be about 3-4 decades back, when I read this quote by Swami Vivekananda. It is about charity, and that has stayed with me forever. uh, Even if you give the dust from your house, you sweep your house, and the dust, in the dustpan, you gather the dust, right, before you discard it into the trash, into the dustbin. You give that dust to somebody, even that will grow. So give. So, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very powerful. In fact, this sacrifice that you're talking about, the actress father did, right? That is very pleasing to Krishna. It says, whenever you do paropkar, when, let's say, you're feeling hungry and you see somebody is feeling hungry, you take a bit of an austerity and give it that. What you get in your heart from Krishna is priceless, right? Those kind of acts, sacrifices, including charity, of course, there's an intersection between sacrifice, charity, and penance, right? I had shown that graph. So when you do that, what you get from within is priceless from Krishna. The kind of cleaning job, the kind of bliss that he will give you, the kind of satisfaction he'll give you is priceless. Very nice story for sharing that. Thank you. And whoever has gone through that kind of an experience, you can share that. It is truly priceless. You are actually cutting a corner spiritually when you do that. Very true. Thank you for sharing that, VKG. Beautiful story. Yes. Who's next? Urvi, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Urvi.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, I also had a little experience, so I donated. I had a little bit money, 2-3 thousand, so I donated it on somebody's account, and in return, I got more than 1 lakh from the same person.
Amazing. Look,
Yeah.
this is how we feel good when we do these acts, right? That is how we've been wired and designed by Brahmaji, and universe cooperates as well. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Urvi. By the way, Urvi, she's one of our leading fundraisers for Swamiji's university, and she doesn't earn, and she's been able to raise lakhs. And I don't know how are they pulling it off, Urvi. So keep it up. Yes, Vikas.
Can I first read the questions in the
Yes,
chat?
let's read the question, then we can come back to Vikas because we need to give time to other questions as well.
Yeah. So one question is basically there are only 3 types of charity, right? Tan, Man, and Dhan, and maybe knowledge as well. So you can say in which category it kind of falls in.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Tan, Man, Dhan, and then we'll talk about the types of charities from Bhagavad Gita standpoint. And then we will also talk about the highest level of charity. So Tan, Man, Dhan, we'll pick it up tomorrow. It is said that, Tan, Man, Dhan, we talk about it, right? Man is the highest, Dhan comes somewhere in between, and Dhan is the lowest. Only when you start with Dhan can you harbor any ambitions of getting to Man. So Dhan is the starting point. Right? If you can't do with Man, which will take, of course, time, right? Then you do your Shramdan through Tan. And then Dhan is the starting point typically in charity, because that is where most of our asakti is and we get stuck. We'll talk about this concept tomorrow, as well as the types of different charities, using some analogies so that concept is very clear. When we are doing charity, what it means. Yes.
In this present world, we are surrounded by lots of cheaters. If you are
Yeah.
cheated by a large amount, how can you have charity further or mindset of forgiveness?
If you are cheated, maybe you cheated somebody in the past. I mean, that's another way I will look at it, if it's already gone by. But yeah, the part of that responsibility is on us as well. First of all, why we were doing this charity. Secondly, the groundwork around getting cheated. But then, despite our best intentions and efforts, if something is supposed to go away, it will go away. Then by harboring resentment, it will not going to help the cause, right? Maybe it was meant to be like that. Sometimes we suffer unexpected losses in life. And sometimes we get unexpected gains as well, right? That's part of life. But yeah, we will talk about the recipient, the patra in which you are putting the charity, and the mindset that you need to have in tomorrow's session. But yeah, I understand it's very difficult to get over that resentment, especially if it has shaken your life. But we have to make peace with it as well, eventually. Right? There was Narsi Mehta, his whole factory was burnt, his whole house was burnt, he lost his family. And he told to Krishna, Krishna, maybe that's what you desired. Whatever little bonds I had, or there was a potential to form more bonds in this life, you have snatched away that also from me. So now I can do only your devotion. That was his mindset. We are not saints, but eventually the acceptance is something that Krishna likes. He said that the person who remains equanimous in gains or losses, in happiness or distress, Shitoshna Ushna, he said, in winter and cold, basically cold and hot, that person who remains equanimous is very dear to me. So it's an opportunity for us to exercise equanimity that, okay, today you have lost it, but you still have things and you can recreate wealth. But if you start losing your morality around it, you start losing your, thought process around it, and you get into a rut, then you are becoming bankrupt, truly bankrupt. So person who loses inspiration, motivation is a truly bankrupt, not the one who loses money. So we can still make something out of our lives. But if we use that as an opportunity to be messed up for the rest of our life, then it's a big loss. Okay.
Perfect. There's more question in the chat.
Yeah.
I generally donate and then forget about it, but every now and then, out of nowhere, my mind thinks, now I will also get something. And I never think this consciously. It just jumps up in my head since I know I don't have strong control over my thoughts. Does it upset Mahadev or Krishna? And will that donation go to waste?
So it will not upset Mahadev or Krishna unless you choose to write that thought, right? Your mind can generate anything. But are you choosing to write it will determine whether Mahadev will not become upset, first of all. Okay. I know who's asking this question. But whether you're energizing that thought or not is your choice, prerogative. If you just reject it, okay, my naughty mind has again thrown a tantrum, okay, I don't need to read too much into it. That's fine. I'll reject this thought. That's fine. Mahadev also understands that our mind is not fertile or pure as yet. But if you consciously choose that thought for, 15 seconds, 1 minute, 1 hour, hey, when am I going to get the money back? Where is it going to come? And then it's a problem. Then your negating your charity. But if you're simply rejecting, saying that, okay, it is just another tantrum of my restless mind, unpredictable mind, then God also understands, right? He cuts us a bit of a slack. He knows we are work in progress.
Perfect. If someone inadvertently committed a transgression, how can they repent?
In a transgression, how does he?
How can they repent?
I mean, inadvertently means basically unintentionally, okay, accidentally, by the way, simple word. Yeah, I mean, you simply say, make a resolve not to repeat that again. The first time it happens could be a mistake. Second time it happens, it's a choice you are making. Third time it happens, you want to do it. So if it's happened first time, we make a better resolve and try not to repeat it and take the learning from it. But again, the key is not to get into a rut of becoming guilty for the rest of our lives. We say, okay, it happened, and next time I'll make a resolve not to repeat it. And that's perfectly fine, right? We learn. There is success or there is learning. So there's a learning in everything. But if you do it second time, now you're making a choice. And third time, it's like, I want to do it now. So first time is okay.
There's a funny question for Urvi. I mean, someone would like to know who did she donate? Like it got multiplied by many foods.
We want to donate to that person as well. Huh? Yeah,
Urvi,
you can
would like to
tackle.
see, okay. Next we have Vikas. I'll take him. He's been
Nanikji, a new hand, and then we
and
can get back
Nanikji.
to
Yeah,
Vikas.
Vikas, we come back to you. And Nanikji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, sir. I give you one example that how I was in McDonald's, then I took a cup of coffee, I went to the car, and started my car. Somebody knocked at the seat, he said he wants some money. So I started trying to take the money to give it to him, few dollars. He saw my phone in my pocket, he just took away my phone. So I got out of the car, I told him, I give you, he was running, I said, I give you $100, just give me that. By the time I come, another of his friend drove my car away because car was on. And then I was without car and everything, no phone, so somebody. But it's important how you money to anybody. I'm talking about like a beggar type.
We'll talk
Okay.
about those charities as well, when we give it to beggars, having a soft corner for them and stuff like that. But then do we stop giving it to anybody who might be in genuine need? We'll talk about all those questions tomorrow. Yeah, that's very true. Thank you for sharing that, Nanikji. By the way, any key announcements that we had today that you wanted to make? Let's
Yes,
make the announcements, then we'll come back to Vikas and then we move to our devotional segment.
Yeah, and I'm still receiving comments. So for all of them, I'll say please put your comments, questions in the feedback tracker because we are losing out of time. So Nitinji will look at them. I'll put the feedback tracker. And most importantly, we have the family camp starting, which is the flagship event of JKO. It's starting on July 4th, from July 4th to 10th. And all of you can also take benefit of it from the comfort of your home. You can attend it virtually as well. Of course, in person is the best, but those who cannot attend it in person, they can attend it virtually. I'm going to share the link and please take advantage of this most wonderful event, which is like life transformational. That's the major announcement, Nitinji, feedback tracker and family
Fill in
camp.
the feedback tracker. If you have any follow-up questions, I can bring it to the discussion tomorrow. So please do fill it up. And family camp is our marquee event of the year. So do sign up for it if you haven't already, and you can always enjoy it from the comforts of your home as well if you're not in or around Dallas. So thank you for bringing that out, Sandhya.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
mean, early bird discount, which is like the family camp has come, but it's still on. So people can make use of that. So yeah.
Great. Okay, so now we'll take one more from Vikasi and then we move to the devotional segment. Who all have are interested?
So, sir, when I was doing my internship in IIT Kharagpur,
So I started doing charity. So there I realizes ki, so what is the boundary line of charity? Ki how much should I spend? At what amount should I spend? Let's say if I am getting 5,000 rupees from my parents, then about how much should I expend it to the charity and how much should I expend on myself?
We'll talk about it tomorrow, the principle as per our scriptures around it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it tomorrow session. Okay, now I'll give you an incentive to attend tomorrow's session as well. Okay. आप कल का सत्र भी अटेंड करें, आपको इंसेंटिव देते हैं हम. Nice questions, Vikas. Thank you. Okay, so please fill out the feedback tracker along with the questions that you may have. Now let's move to the devotional segment. Who all are going to render their melodious bhavpurn voice today? Okay, Sandhya, I see one hand. Urvi is there. Okay, two hands. One clap already has come before, even before singing. Okay, third hand, Vikas. Thank you. All right, let's get started. We'll take in the sequence, maybe 3 hands today. And time permitting, I may chant little as well. All right, let's go.
Nitinji, you can go first.
No, I cannot go first. I become very nervous when I go first.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
मैं करूं सुमिरन राधा, है जीवन धन राधा, श्याम हूँ स्वामिनी राधा, जय जयति जयति राधा, मन करूं सुमिरन राधा, है जीवन धन राधा, श्याम हूँ स्वामिनी राधा, जय जयति जयति राधा, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे. That's it.
Very nice. Beautiful song. Yeah, beautiful bhajan. Ratu Nitya Naam Radhe. It's a very beautiful bhajan. Thank you for bringing that. Loved it. Great. So, who is next? Vikas, are you going to make debut today too? You are on a roll today. Go ahead. Let's take Vikas and then we'll go to Urvi.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sing a song. I will just express my yeah. So it's like have you listened rap songs like not that one? It's like a spiritual rap.
Not Apache Indian or Baba Sehgal, right?
No, sir, not that type.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah. जिंदगी एक कारवां सिलसिला जो रुकता ना, गिरता पड़ता उठ के चलता फिर भी मैं झुकता गया, जिस गली से उस गली में लगे नाकाबंदी वहां के बंदे जड़ते लापे, माँ पे गाली जब भी पड़ती, वो जानते हैं हर गली में चल पड़ेगी जिंदगी, माँ ने बोला आजा बेटा तू है मेरा राजा बेटा, राजा बेटा जब जाएंगे उस सवेरे, जब रात काली बीत जाए तब लगेगी वाट सबकी, जब मैं फिर खुद से उठ के लौटा है.
Wow, very nice. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate this rap version of your things. Very nice, Vikas. Maybe you can put it on the portal or on the chat. Okay, it was a pretty interesting rap and nicely excited as well. Thank you for that. All right. Thank you. Urvi, go ahead, please.
Yes, Urvi. Radhe
राधे 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 राधे. सरस किशोरी वयस की थोरी, रति रस बोरी, की जय कृपा की को राधे, की जय कृपा की को, साधनहीन दीन मैं राधे तू करुणामयी प्रेम अगाधे साधनहीन दीन मैं राधे तू करुणामयी प्रेम अगाधे काके द्वारे जाय पुकारू कौन निहारे दीन दुखी की ओर। राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe Urvi. Very nice. Beautiful. Do we have anybody else then?
Wow, I just loved it. Like Ka Pukare and Deen ki beautiful, beautiful lines. Thank you, Urvi. Okay, next, Nitin ji, you.
Oh, it's me?
Yes, I guess.
Okay. Radha Vallabh Kunj Vihari Muralidhar Govardhan Dhari Radha Vallabh Kunj Vihari Muralidhar Govardhan Dhari O Raghunandan Pran Pirite तुम बिनु अब हूँ बहुत दिन बीते राधा वल्लभ कुंज विहारी मुरलीधर गोवर्धन धारी हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. All right. Radhe Radhe everyone. Hope you enjoyed the session. Tomorrow we'll continue on this discussion. Explore some more facets of charity. Please bring in your questions. Fill in the feedback tracker. If you have any questions, we'll bring it to the discussion. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you again for your enthusiastic, engaging participation. Have a good day and a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much, Nitin ji, for a beautiful rendition. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. Great devotional segment as well. See you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.